let's take a look at the Aristotelian argument. If you need access to this lecture, just feel free to scan that QR code and that'll give you exit, or the lecture itself. Now, when it comes to the Aristotelian, this is best for defending a position. So what does that mean? Well, we are looking at a direct, persuasive, argumentative style. This is used to convince our audience sometimes that a problem exists or these different kinds of claims are surrounding this problem. If we want to do this, we need to present a clear stance, we need to support it with evidence, and we need to refute any counter-arguments. Do you remember our ethos, pathos, and logos? And Aristotelian does a really great job with kind of bridging the gap between our emotions, our logic, and our speaker credibility. So as long as these things are evident, oftentimes Aristotelians are very successful types of arguments. They have a very basic structure. You introduce, you argue, you counter-argue, and you conclude. The format of our thesis is also very simple. This topic is important because reasons 1, 2, and 3, these will be your claims, and despite opposing viewpoints suggesting that suggest this, right? An example of what this thesis could look like is you have your topic like, should school start times be later? The thesis then would say, school should start later in the morning because, here are my claims, it improves student performance, benefits mental health, and reduces absenteeism, despite concerns about schedule conflicts. What an Aristotelian argument is going to do very well is it's going to overshadow these counter arguments that exist. A strong argument for an Aristotelian type of an argument style will appeal to the pathos, logos, and ethos. And in addition to that, your claims that you make should be well researched and explained, because those are going to be your main points that you drive home to counteract any types of counter arguments that might exist. Think of that being very strong rebuttals. If you're looking at the outline, I do have a recommended outline of how an Aristotelian argument should shape. And you'll notice that this is very generic because a lot of the ways that we argue is naturally Aristotelian. That's why I actually will not have an example paper attached to these slides. That's because there's a lot of different papers that can fit this here. And a lot of times really strong arguments will meld multiple argument structures together. But if you're going down the Aristotelian, a good starting point is as follows. You still have the basics of your introduction where you hook, give background, never forget to add that thematic statement in there in your inquiry question, and then you'll throw your thesis statement in there. When you get to your body paragraphs, it's simple. Here's your claim, here's your evidence. Here's this claim that I'm making, the reason why I support my thesis. If you can, I'd recommend aligning it to a lens to show multiple perspectives, and then you delve into the evidence in your explanation. Then you go into your next section or your next paragraph. Give me another claim. Give me your reasons. Give me your evidence and your explanation. And you repeat that process for however many claims that you have. Again, my big recommendation when it comes to this type of an argument is to align your body paragraphs with lenses. The more that you can show your perspectives, the stronger your essay becomes much stronger. When it comes to the counter argument and rebuttal, give me the counter argument and then refute it. Oftentimes, with an Aristotelian argument, as you're going through this stuff, naturally, you might, when you get to your rebuttal, just recall some of the information that you called here. This would be a good example of a time that reusing a source would be kind of successful. Not necessarily reusing the same quote, but making our reader go back and say, hey, do you remember when I talked about this? Well, let's bring that reasoning back in here because this shows this. Now, with an Aristotelian as well, you'll notice that although this counter-argument comes after these 3 claims, you can move this anywhere you want. So let's say that this makes more sense right there. Do it. Just because this outline exists does not mean you have to follow it to a T. And that's the nice part about argument. You see where it develops, and then you work with things and move things around and be like, yeah, this looks much better in this place. Lastly, when you come to your conclusion, there's nothing necessarily too unique here. You're still restating your thesis, summarizing your key points, and you explain why your argument matters. The last thing that you want to do is some type of call to action. What change needs to happen, and or what are some final thoughts that you have? Sometimes the end of an Aristotelian argument, it still has a solution, but it might not be a well-researched solution right now. So maybe you make a recommendation that says more research needs to move and develop in this specific area. That would kind of coincide with a final thought as well. So that is our Aristotelian styled argument.